I am Beth Miller. I am the Marriage Saver Coach here at the Soulify program, and I am a hypnotist and I am a marriage coach, like I just said. And what I want to do today is I want to dive into this really controversial topic. Controversial topic is it possible to save a marriage if only one spouse does the work? Is it possible to save a marriage if only one spouse does the work? And what I want to do by the end of this today, I want you to be able to figure out your answer of, can this approach work if you are just try and save a marriage with just one? So we'll go into the pros and cons, if this will work, if it doesn't work. So by the end of the live, I want to make sure that, hello for those watching, I want to make sure that you have a crystal clear answer on if it is possible. Also, by the end of the live, if you want to explore more on how to save your marriage and what approach to take, feel free to comment below or send me a DM with the word one. Send the word one. Hello, everyone. And right now, just to get started, feel free to pop in the comments. And even if you're watching the replay, what's your belief right now? 1 or 2? Does it take 1 to really save a marriage, or do you need 2 to absolutely save the marriage? And what I mean by 1 versus 2, 1 is actively really doing the work to save their marriage, while 2 would be both parties are extremely invested doing the work right now on the same page. So type below, comment below, 1 or 2, what's your belief right now to save a marriage? And traditionally it has been 2, and that's what couples counseling, if you want to save a marriage, you have to go to couples counseling. And in order to get a true answer to this question, what I want to do is I really want to go deep. We're going to nerd out for a little bit here because this is what's not talked about. We talk about neuroscience a lot, but I really want to go into the nervous system. And nervous system really is how, just think about right now. Are you feeling really kind of nervous, anxious? Are you feeling very calm? That's your nervous system that's firing neurons that are like, I'm good. Or it's your nervous system being like, okay, I'm anxious because I have these thoughts that are being generated in my head, such as what time's he coming home, or is he going to do this again, or thinking about things that have happened in the past. Your nervous system is not calm if it's creating this emotion in your body of like worry, fear, anger, sadness. And when it comes to our nervous system, what we want to do ideally is we want to have a husband and a wife whose nervous systems are what we say in the parasympathetic state. And I'll break that down. But what happens is I have a nervous system, you have a nervous system, your husband, everyone in this world has a nervous system. And we have what's called mirror neurons. And what neurons really mean is my nervous system sees your nervous system. And a lot of people would refer to this as like, you know what, you can walk into a room or you can just really read someone. This is how we read them. It's the mirror neurons. It's like, okay, I can see your nervous system is a bit heightened right now. So when that happens, like, just imagine it's like a young child. You can sense that they're very anxious. Their nervous system is activated in a high, what we call sympathetic state, which I'll dig into a little bit more, like they're feeling anxious. And so what we do as a parent is we use our nervous system to come in close, get down low, and be like, okay, just even holding them for a moment, that mirror neuron of their nervous system or our nervous system, we can actually calm their nervous system down. So we need to talk about, can one person really actively save a marriage when the other person's not involved? And so I want to take this from the neuroscience kind of nervous system standpoint. So if your husband, for instance, if he's the one that's he's not sure, he's working on himself, or he's trying to get clarity, doesn't know what he wants to do, that nervous system, we got to leave that one and we got to get yours in a good place, because that one is probably activating yours into a place of heightened anxiety. And if his nervous system is like, you can just sense that he's standoffish, or he's kind of in this flight mode where he's just kind of running from his problems. If that's mirroring to you and you're adopting that as part of yours and it's deregulating you, we need to make sure that yours is regulated. Because it takes one really has to have a regulated nervous system. And this is the truth too. If you're going into couples counseling, you both have to go in with the goal of, number one, get your nervous system in a good place so that you're not triggering each other. And that's what happens when you have an activated emotion of anger, sadness, fear. We often will we are that vibe. You can sense if someone's angry. That vibe is just coming everywhere out of you. And so we need to make sure that we keep that in a good place. Otherwise, what's going to happen is your nervous system is going to talk to his nervous system, and you're going to trigger each other. Other ways of kind of explaining this too is our nervous system gets triggered and heightened because of past patterning. So in the past, whether it's with your husband or past relationships, even childhood, if you felt like rejected or you felt like you're not enough, if these have come up in the past, your brain is being like, hey, patterns here. We've seen this before in the past when he said that, I'm trying to think of a good example. He said that, yeah, we could just use that example, like, I need to figure things out. In the past, when someone has said the words, I just need to figure things out, it's often led to an outcome that could lead to abandonment or rejection of who you are, someone that's just going to leave, or it's not going to work out for the way you want. If someone needs to work on things, figure things out, it often means that they're going to figure things out and leave. They're not going to come back to you. And so we have that patterning, which then increases your nervous system to a heightened anxiety. And so to get into this, I want to just kind of dive into, I have some notes here so I don't forget anything, but ideally we want to get both partners in a place of what's called a parasympathetic nervous system. So our nervous system is what we call autonomic. A lot of stuff that happens with our nervous system, it also involves like breathing. So if you're calm, you're breathing in what is a parasympathetic state. Your autonomic nervous system, it controls your breathing, controls your heart rate, it controls your digestion, includes even like the dilation of your pupils. And so when you're in a parasympathetic state, you're very much calm. In that state, you can rest, you can sleep well, you can digest your food, your heart rate's at a good level, and that's what we call parasympathetic. That's good. That's where we want to go in terms of the autonomic nervous system, because that controls a lot of our functions in our body. But when it comes to what we call the sympathetic nervous system, that's the like what we might call fight, flight, freeze. Often in that state, your pupils are dilated. It's like danger, danger. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. All of a sudden, you're breathing, respiratory. It's tightened or constricted. Your heart's beating really fast. Your stomach, all of a sudden it like constricts. We have this thing called the vagal nerve throughout our body. It's kind of like an alien. It actually starts up in here around your eyes. If anyone's ever done tapping, has anyone done tapping, emotional freedom technique? It's when you do this like tapping in this area, under here, chest. There's some areas that you need to tap it out. But that works on the vagal nerve. So this vagal nerve theory is we have this nerve that kind of looks like an alien. It kind of goes through and it stops down at the digestive system. And so what happens is when we're in this sympathetic state, we're like, whoop, what happens is the vagal nerve actually closes up at the digestive system. It's in survival mode. It's like, we don't need to worry about food. We just need to worry, and it actually shuts down your cortex here, your frontal cortex, your logical thinking, your just that ability to rationalize. And so it shuts down that stuff because it's in survival mode. And so what we want to do is make sure not both partners are in that state. We need to have one of you in the parasympathetic state, which is that rest, digest, low, like heart rate's in a good place. And a lot of this is coming from, like, we get activated into that sympathetic state based on our past traumas. And when I talk about the word trauma, it doesn't have to be one incident. It can be many little incidents that make it complex. But the root of trauma is something has happened to you and you didn't have the outlet to kind of heal that, to move through it, to neutralize the emotions associated. It's almost like if you were a child and something happened to you. It could be just bullying at school, or it could be sexual trauma. It could be so many different things. We call mini micro traumas. What happened was how do I want to word this? You didn't have usually an adult right there to be like, okay, it's okay. Kind of what I talked about, that mirror neurons. You didn't have someone come up to you with a mirror neuron and be like, it's okay. You are enough. You are loved. This isn't about you. And it's someone that's going to hold your hand. It's like this kind of parent that would come actually up there and talk to you. What we need as an adult when we go through trauma, it's almost like we need something similar. We need this great inner parent to come in, and often it's like your true self, or it's like this essence of your higher self needs to come in, and what we need to do is like neutralize, or what we need to do is create a new imprint. And what I mean by imprint is we have all these memories, and it's like stamp, that memory happened in our brain, and we have to change that imprint. And so if I'm talking over your head right here, I would suggest wind back, and what we're doing here is we're really trying to figure out, is it possible to save a marriage if only one person's active in that process? And what I'm saying is the answer to this question comes down to what is the state of each partner's nervous system? And whether you're doing couples counseling or whether you're not, the nervous systems need to be in a good place. They need to be what's in this parasympathetic state of rest and digest. So, when it comes, I'm just looking through my notes here. When it comes to it, we have, I don't know how much detail I want to go into actually. I think we'll leave it at that part. So what we need to do is we have traditional counseling, right? Traditional counseling, which is very much what I talked about, was that kind of frontal cortex, that logical, rationalizing willpower. A lot of times people will call it cognitive behavioral therapy, where you're trying to actively change your behaviors cognitively. And that cognitively is, like I said, it's catching yourself, reparenting the thought. So it's like, I can't trust him. That's the thought. So cognitive behavioral therapy will generally take it in the direction of, okay, I caught the thought, I can't trust him. I'm going to reparent the thought as I choose to trust him. And then you're going to repeat that to yourself every time it comes through. You have the awareness, you change the thought, you reparent it. I like the idea of reparenting, but not in the cognitive frontal kind of cortex area. I keep doing this, it's right here. We need to get into that deeper brain, the one where the traumas are actually stored. Because I talked about this parasympathetic, sympathetic state, when trauma happens to us, we go into that fight, flight, freeze mode, which shuts down this logical brain. So these memories, this trauma is actually embedded in that sympathetic state. And so we actually need to kind of go into that area, and that's where we need to neutralize it and imprint it. So couples counseling does a lot of that kind of frontal lobe analyzing, but really we got to just get deep into it, and we can actually parent those thoughts. Because even though I'm telling myself I choose to trust him, there's that little voice subconsciously that's like, I don't know, he's done this, he's acting suspicious, he's going to the bathroom a lot with his phone, he's taking longer to get home, he's in, like I just said, the bathroom longer, he's saying he's, I think we all know so many excuses, right? And so it's hard to do that unless like both are fully actively involved. But if I could get my nervous system to a place of, you know what, I've worked on the past times where he's gone to the bathroom with the phone, where he's come home late, where he's been suspicious on his phone and like closes it really quick. I'm trying to think of some other good examples where he hasn't given me a hug and left. If I can work on those past memories, what happens is I'm neutralizing them so that when I have that thought of I can't trust him, it's like, you know what? Today I actually can choose to trust him because I can see in the past why I couldn't. I could see why he was acting that way. Today he says he's doing better, or today he's thinking about it, thinking about working on us. Today I can trust. It's because we've been able to heal that stuff, which allows us to stay in that parasympathetic state. So what happens is the longer you're in that parasympathetic state, one partner is longer in that state, you feel safe. You feel present, you feel curious, you feel mindful, you feel joy, you feel grounded in that parasympathetic state. Versus when we go into those other states, what happens is you go quickly into rage if it's fight, irritation, frustration, or if you're going into flight, that's panic, fear, worry, or if you're going into freeze, that's, this is the worst one. This is like the highest. Freeze is like dissociation, where your body, like you're in that sympathetic state, it actually shuts down. It gets to a place where you're almost out of body. You're so numb. It's like if you were in that state of freeze, it's like a lion was actually going to come attack you and you don't want to feel your death. So what you do is you actually disassociate so that the lion can hurt you. You're actually not really in your body. You don't feel the pain of it. You don't really, how do I want to word this? You conserve your energy as well when you're in this state because you're shutting down all your digestive and your breathing. Everything kind of slows at that point because you just freeze. So that's why people say they go numb or they dissociate from a situation. You're actually kind of leaving your body in that state. So we want to stay out of freeze. We want to stay out of fight. We want to stay out of flight, because what happens is if you can stay in that parasympathetic state versus that sympathetic of freeze, flight, fight, freeze, flight, freeze, flight, fight, we can stay in that parasympathetic state. What happens is our partner starts to trust us more. And you're doing that work ideally like with a therapist, or if you could do some of this on your own. So then what happens is, it's because it's rare that both partners are 100% on the exact same page, wanting to save their marriage, because we're so often dealing with these other triggers. And so if we can get ourselves to a place where we have our nervous system in a good place all the time, what happens is our partner can trust us more. They can feel that we're a safe place, so that when a partner's nervous system goes into the sympathetic, so just say your partner goes into goes into rage, goes to anger. Why are you questioning me? I feel like you're always pushing me to give you the answers. Why don't you just trust me? I'm not doing anything wrong. I've told you I'm not doing anything wrong. Just let this go. Stop bothering me. When they go into that fight position, it doesn't mirror neuron yours to go into that same state. Or if they go into flight where they're just very dismissive and they're just kind of running from the situation, again, your mirror neurons don't pick that up, and your nervous system can stay in that parasympathetic state, and you can witness their experience versus going into their experience. And the more you can stay calm, they start to mirror that back to you. It's kind of like that young child. Remember when I was saying you can go up to them and be like, it's okay, and just hold their hand, just holding that space, them just sensing that your breathing's regulated can then regulate their nervous system. That was in the asympathetic fight, flight, freeze into a parasympathetic, calm, heart's beating again, eyes are in a good position, they're not dilated, your digestion's working again, your throat doesn't feel constricted, you can breathe. And so your husband will do the same as well when you start to find that you're in that position of being able to keep your nervous system in the parasympathetic, calm, grounded state. You're mirroring to them, plus your energy is also grounding them. All right, so back to our big question. Is it possible to save a marriage if only one partner is actively doing the work? You know what? I am 100% on board with this. I see it and I witness it every single day. Because when you go to couples counseling, if you have not calmed your nervous system and you're using cognitive behavioral therapy, essentially you're just logically constantly trying to get things in order without dealing with necessarily the past trauma, or like the past trauma of the lies, the deceit, just the images, the thoughts that are constantly there, because it's exhausting because you have to catch every single thought. And you guys know how many thoughts you have per day. Like, how you can't even count. Like, we have 60,000 thoughts per day. In a state of betrayal, it's unbelievable how many thoughts. So can you imagine catching all of those and actively having to reparent them versus just kind of going back in through, I use a hypnosis process to get you very relaxed. You can kind of pull up multiple memories of when you couldn't trust and just kind of neutralize them, change the imprint from complete devastation to, I can see why that happened and that's no longer my future, and releasing that from you. So is it possible to save a marriage? Only if one is active. 100%, because you're in a place where your mirror neurons are communicating, I'm safe, I'm okay, you are also going to be okay, I'm here for you. And that's what really, they're not actively working on themselves, but your like kind of vibration, your like brain science neurons are actually communicating to them that it's okay, I am okay. And so if you want at this time, what you can do, if you want to know kind of which system would work best for you, feel free to DM me or comment the word one, and we can figure out if one would work for you. At this point, if you have any other questions, feel free to send me a DM or a comment sending me the word one. But it's 100% possible for you to save a marriage on your own. Your husband is not maybe actively trying, but kind of through the energetics of neuroscience and just the vibration, law of attraction, law of vibration, you are opening up, you're expansive, which allows them to come into your space, almost like you're giving that child that warm hug. Even though physically it may not be happening, they're sensing that you're becoming that safe person. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed this live. Again, any questions, send me the word one and I'll go through this with you a bit more. But I hope this was helpful, me nerding out for a little bit on kind of nervous system and neuroscience. It's not talked about enough. Like, it's an emerging science that is so powerful and so much faster than trying to tell your brain over and over again, I am safe, I am okay, I am loved, I am enough, I'm respected, over and over and over again. It's so much faster. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining me, and we'll chat soon. Bye.